Hey everyone, Coty here, and in this video I want to talk about an update from my image tool, Claude nerfs, and the bleak future of information, kind of research in Ouroboros. And I'll kind of cover that, and it's going to be a little more serious towards the end because it's going to kind of affect like my future, but not necessarily yours. So let's talk about these because they actually kind of link together. Each one kind of feeds into the rest. So let's start with the image tool and kind of the updates. I am going to put the updated version in the Google Drive, but essentially I got asked for two more features for the image generation tool. The first was adding like the difference between the Flux versions. So I guess it had defaulted to Pro, which is more expensive than Schnell. So I added Schnell to the list. So it's the cheaper version of Flux, and it should be working as far as I know it is. And it's going to look a little different. And here's why. And this will actually lead into... Actually, I'll come back to that because it's going to lead into the next section. So anyway, I added it to the list. And so you should be able to choose either one of those. And then if any of these aren't working, let me know. I'll try to fix it. But to be honest, I don't even know what I'm doing. I basically vibe coded this whole tool with Claude, and I'm blown away that it even works. The fact that we've come so far in society that you can make a tool like this in a couple of hours is insane to me. But anyway, it should be working. Pretty much everything else is the same except this right here. This was the other request I got, was to add a reference image like section or whatever, where you add an image and then it uses it as a reference for the style to create a similar style. However, this is not currently working properly, so just know that going in, that the reference image, if you add one, when I've ran it, it just basically makes a new version of the reference image as opposed to pulling like the style from it. So I don't think it quite understands how to do that. So I wouldn't use it because I don't want you guys to burn credits or anything on your APIs. So what I would do is just when you tell like ChatGPT or whoever to come up with the image prompts, just tell it to, keep a consistent style. I do want to add one more thing. I'm going to pull this off here, and I'm going to pull it up because it is actually a cool tool that I found that I think you guys might like, and then I'll bring this back. So I'll actually go over that real quick. So this is a tool called Remove Empty Lines. It's just a website. It's Code Beautify. And then if you just search Remove Empty Lines, it should come up. But essentially, like if you put, if you have a hard break between two paragraphs, which is generally how the lists come from ChatGPT, you can actually just run them through here, and it actually removes the extra paragraphs. So it's actually a really cool tool. Even if you have scripts that have like a hard space between them, sometimes that'll just put a long pause in your script. Maybe you want it, maybe you don't. But if you put in a script, or maybe you put in a list of image prompts, you can put them in here and it actually takes out the empty paragraphs. So I just thought that was a cool tool I wanted to share. But coming back to the image tool, so this right now isn't working. I'm going to try to work on it over the next week or two. And then, if I update it, I'll just mention it in a new video or a post, probably a new post. But yeah, everything else should be about the same. You can add your, images here. You can either type them in or you can add them with CSV or whatever. And then it just kind of updated this. So here's the thing about Claude and what is going to lead me into the next section. So I have just been vibe coding this through Claude, and Claude has been hitting its caps very quickly lately. And somebody in my comments has said that Claude actually got nerfed. And if you don't know what nerfed means, in video games, it just essentially means that, the developers made something less effective. And so if something got nerfed, something that was really good, like now it's not as good as it was. Maybe it still works, but it's just not as effective. And so they do this to balance things out. Well, Claude essentially nerfed their limits. And so even though you're paying the same amount, the limits are smaller. So you're hitting those caps faster. And this actually explains why a lot of people were telling me, like, I'm hitting my cap. And so I was trying to find a balance between, the length of the scripts and how many web searches you're doing. And it actually explains a lot as to why people are hitting those caps so fast, because if they lowered their caps, then that is why. Well, that affects this image generation tool, because in coding, it is going back and forth a lot. And so it's hitting those caps very quick. So I'm not able to do a whole lot of updates to this tool at once because of that. So there's probably better platforms for making something like this. This is just what I started in. So I actually I finished the conversation this was initially built in because it hit the cap. And then I went to a new conversation and had it pull the information from that. But then when it rewrote the code, it was slightly different. So that's why it looks different. It's a mess. So I'm trying to, do the best I can to keep it similar to the initial one, but also include more features. Just know I'm trying, but I don't know what I'm doing, and Claude apparently doesn't either. Now, I even looked this up on Google. Did Claude, reduce their limits? And they said, yes, they've reduced their limits, particularly power users of Claude code. So not great, and it's actually really frustrating. Now, this leads into, so we're good with this. Just know it's, I'll have the updated version one. It should have this option, but this is not currently working. And when you run the file, so let me pull the files over real quick here. So if you go into whatever the zip folder is and unzip it, you may have to delete your old version and run this build exe, and that will build an executable here in the distro file. And then this should be the thing. It should work unless you have to do something else. I don't know. Again, I'm trying my best to make it as simple as possible, but it is what it is. Okay, so let's come back to the second part of this, Claude nerfs. So we've already kind of talked about the Claude code. You saw that yourself. But the other issue I've been having with Claude is not only am I hitting the caps more often on writing these scripts, they're also inaccurate. And so because of the inaccuracies, it's been really frustrating to even create videos because the scripts aren't accurate. And even if I tell it to go back and double check its work, it's like it does, and then it's still inaccurate. So it's like there's no winning there. So Claude is, I have a love-hate relationship with Claude because it's a great writing tool, but it's just very limited now compared to even a few months ago. And so I was thinking about it. I'm like, how can I still use Claude to write the scripts? Because it's cheaper than using a lot of script writing services out there. But, get better research to create a better, script. Because if I can pull in information from somewhere else and then use that as the research doc for the thread, then and I don't have Claude do the research with web search, then I can just use the information from something else, bring it into the thread, and then just have it write the script based on the information within the thread. That will give you more tokens available because you're not having it search for the information and write the script, right? You're keeping it kind of separated. So it's going to give you more, it's going to give you more ability to write those scripts without hitting a cap. And then on top of that, again, they were also inaccurate. So again, I've been having the same issues with Claude that a lot of people have been complaining about. And it is frustrating because, again, I like Claude for writing the scripts. However, having inaccurate scripts, it's actually been hurting my videos because people are pointing it out over and over and over. So my views have just dropped because the scripts are inaccurate, and it's even hit its cap or whatever. So basically, I was thinking about this and how can I get the research somewhere else and then bring it into Claude? Like what is the best tool to do research? So I actually tried a bunch of different chatbots. I tried, I think, 6 different chatbots. Yeah. And I'm going to show you kind of the results and give you my thoughts. But then this is also going to lead into the Ouroboros, and I'll explain that in just a second once we get to that point. But it's the future of information is not looking great. So let's talk about the research and kind of what I did. So a while ago, I don't even think it's been a week. Maybe it's been a week since I uploaded the video. I could probably look on my phone, but it's been like a few days, right? That I created this thread, and basically it was for the Lore to RPG channel. And I did a video about Final Fantasy VII, and I was talking about, these weapons, which are like these bosses in the game. And I did a video about it. So I wrote the script or whatever. The video's already on YouTube. And I did this a few days ago. I don't think it shows the date on here, but anyway, this was maybe a week ago. Well, again, because I wanted to compare, I basically used the information it gave me from this one, because I ran it all in Claude. I didn't do deep research. I just did regular research, because deep research with Claude takes forever. I just did the regular web searches and then had it write a script, did the video, put the video out, right? But the video was okay, but again, people were complaining that it was inaccurate. So I was like, okay, well, what if we did do deep research on Claude? What kind of information is it going to give us, right? And even up here, I believe it shows the knowledge base, or maybe this is the actual script. But you can kind of see that it does the research, but it doesn't really show you, a document without the script itself. So anyway, I was like, okay, let's try deep research. So I did the same topic just with deep research, which is, more intense than just the regular one. I said, I need you to research something in the game Final Fantasy. Did Shinra know about the weapons? I need as much detail as possible, be as comprehensive as possible, compile your research into a document for me, right? And I used the same prompt across all of them because I wanted to compare. And so the sources it pulled was a lot. It was 274 sources, but it took almost an hour to do. Now, if I'm trying to run these videos, that's a long time. Now, I'm not saying it's not worth it, but the amount of information that it gave is it's probably overkill, to be 100% honest with you. However, it did give me the document, and the document is pretty well done. So essentially what you would do is you'd have it write it, compose or compile all of the information into a document. You download the document, and then you would put it into the Claude thread that you're going to have write the script. And it did give quite a bit of information. So I will say, if you're going to do it, that's great. The problem with this is that it's also using up your token usage. So it's like you're going to hit your caps faster for the day or for the week or whatever because of this. So, my thinking is how can we get the information elsewhere and then bring it into Claude? So it was very thorough. And I do think the deep research is good if you're not trying to put out a bunch of scripts at once. If you're trying to write 2 or 3 scripts a day, this just isn't going to cut it. So, but it did pull a lot of sources. And I think, let's see, can we pull this up? I do want to see one thing here. Does it? YouTube. Okay. So it doesn't look like it's here. That's fine. Anyway, so we have that. Okay. So we'll look at some other sources. So ChatGPT, always asking its stupid questions all the time. The research it did is not bad. Actually, ChatGPT gave a pretty lengthy reply. I would actually say it's pretty comprehensive. Now, I don't know if it's just because I have the paid version of ChatGPT. I don't know if you can do this without the paid version. I really don't know. But I would say for the deep research, it was pretty good. And I think the time on this one was 13 minutes. That's not bad. That's pretty reasonable, I think, to get this amount of information. So pretty good. I actually was pretty impressed with ChatGPT. Now, I would never have it write a script because it's so cheesy sometimes. And and even though you tell it not to use certain words, it still does. So I don't know. You can use it. I'm just saying I don't. But for research, for the deep research, it actually did pretty good. All right. So Google Gemini. Gemini actually gave me, I would say, mediocre, right? It gave me a decent amount. I wouldn't say it's that much. I wished it was more. And maybe it's just because I'm not paying for Gemini. I just did the free one. But I would say it wasn't as much as I thought, although it's Google, so you would think that it would have, better sources, but you could always run this and then take the document, and then you could always get it from a couple of different chatbots and then put them all into Claude and then just have a pull from different ones. Now, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to come back to this because there's something on this page that I want to point out. Okay, so next we'll do DeepSeek. If you've never used DeepSeek, it's a Chinese AI bot, but it's free, and it does deep think and search. I was not impressed with the response it gave, so I would probably not use DeepSeek. So again, it's free, but it wasn't very good. I was actually expecting more. Okay, so next is Grok. Grok gave me a pretty decent breakdown. I wouldn't say it's the best. I'm going to come back to this one as well, so I'll set that. I'm going to set that there. Okay, last was Perplexity. I actually like Perplexity for research. And if we go to the actual document here, you can see that it's pretty good, actually. And I don't have the paid version of Perplexity. It's good. And again, you could always just run a couple different ones, take those documents and then put them in. So overall, I would say ChatGPT, as much as I'm not like a huge fan of ChatGPT, it actually gave me the most bang for the buck for the deep research. However, for what you get from Perplexity, pretty good. Gemini's not terrible. Grok was actually pretty good. Okay, so now let's come to the last point that I want to make in this video, and it is very somber. So Ouroboros. If you don't know what Ouroboros is, essentially it's getting thrown a lot with AI. And Ouroboros is the snake eating its tail. Essentially like how, something can't be self-sustaining. Like it always needs something else. And in terms or like in talking about AI, essentially the Ouroboros is like it's a cannibalism. Basically, all AI that is out was trained on original works, right? But it came to a point where the original works like weren't enough and they had to keep training them on new things. And so they trained them on two things beyond what was available. They trained it on synthetic data and current data. Because remember when ChatGPT came out, it was cut off at a certain point. It didn't have like live search and, it was based on stuff like from 2022 or 2023 or something. But now it's up to date, right? It's based on current information. The problem with this is that as people started using AI, these AI search engines started indexing the AI content. And so a lot of people are like, well, it's going to get to this point. Well, it's probably, it's there. And I'm going to show you why, where AI is already cannibalizing itself. And what I mean by that is that people are now using AI to generate content. And then when the AIs go out and search content to create content, it's creating content based on AI generated content. So, it's a shadow of a shadow or a copy of a copy. And if you know anything about, copying a copy of something, every time you copy it, it gets worse. Maybe you've seen the videos of people like telling ChatGPT, recreate this image, but don't make any changes. And they do it 100 times and it gets worse every time, right? It's the same thing. Like if you took an image and then put it in a copier, took the paper out, put it back in the copier and copied that, and you just kept doing that, it's going to get distorted over time. That is what's happening with AI right now. So AI, because there's so much AI content already, it's already indexing those and then taking those things as sources and using them as their baseline to create new content generated by AI. And what do you think is going to happen, in a few weeks, a month or whatever? It's going to now index that as a source, pull that into it. So as if AI didn't hallucinate enough, it is now going to take misinformation, index it as real, and then create even greater hallucinations. Okay. It's not looking good. And I don't say that lightly. I'm not saying that to be like pessimistic or just whatever. It's already happening, and it happened to me. So you may have noticed when we were going through these, I was kind of looking at specific sources, and I did not know that this was going to happen before I ran this search. I saw it and it made my heart sink. Okay. And it kind of made it a little more real to me. So I did this video, like I said, I don't know, a week ago, like less than 2 weeks, but probably around a week or so, I put this video out. What do you think when I ran this again, one of the sources was of information that it used to make its determination for this script or for the research? It was my video. So this right here, did Shinra know about the weapons? Whose channel is this? Yeah, that's my channel. And what video is this? That's my video. And I did not know that this was going to happen when I ran this again. So within a few days, these search engines, because they're searching live, so it makes sense. But think about this. Think about the scale of this. Okay, these are just simple lore videos. It's not, it's whatever, right? Nobody cares. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But you want it to be accurate. And the whole point of me of trying to find more accurate sources is to be more accurate. But seeing it already pull my own video as a source to write from, it did make it a little more real. And it makes me think that this is not good. Because if we're putting out so much AI generated content that's hallucinating, and those AI chatbots are already pulling that information as sources, that means that there's going to be even greater hallucinations. Now, we could probably set up ways for it to fact check, to discern this source from all these other sources, where there's maybe a filter and it compares, okay, this one's a little different compared to these other 5 that say like the same thing. Sure, that would be very beneficial. But if they're just ad nauseum pulling all these sources and giving them equal weight, that's probably not good. But seeing this right here, it made it more real to me that we are just adding to the problem with this kind of content. Again, it's a lore video, so it's like, who cares? But at the same time, it's like indicative of a greater issue. So, that's kind of where I'm at. And I just thought I would show you guys that. But yeah, I don't really have anything else. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. God bless. Bye.